Hey guys, we're live for a few minutes online. I should have been in my bed a long time ago, but really just trying to hook up with my friend here, William Ruffin. So I'm on YouTube right now, William. If you hear me, shout out to everybody out there in social media. Your current browser status and suggested improvements. What is this? Adware Web Companion. I have no idea what that is. I'm closing it down. Right. Apparently this is not working here. Okay. Close this down as well. All right, folks. So we were discussing the DCEU. We're not going to talk too much about the DCEU, but I'm really trying to get my friend William Ruffin on here. See if we can get something going here, William. See what's going on here first. Okay. David, you were off the chain a bit in the last video. What are you talking about, man? You might be off the chain a bit in the last video. I'm not quite sure I follow you, Dave Ethan. Talk to me, man. What exactly do you mean by that? Because I'm not sure I am following you at all. So shout out to everybody. I see we have 2 viewers already. This is not going to be a very long video or stream. It just kind of came up because I wanted to talk to my friend William Ruffin. I was trying to figure out a way to do so, and this is probably one of the more interesting and constructive ways to go about doing it. We were talking, of course, about many different issues and topics in the last video. Remember, we were talking about basically, uh, we were looking at, uh, the parademons, and we were looking at uh, the worlds to a larger extent of the DCEU. So let's see. Different people are on here, and everybody has different opinions, different views. It's nice to hear different takes of different people. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm going to see what Dave Ethan's saying again. Dave, did you have a vacation or something? Did you have some time off? Excuse me for a second. Just permit me to be excused for a second. Sorry about that. I know you guys couldn't hear me. I was just talking to my mom who came back from church, and I was also trying to talk to just get things sorted out. It's very late in the night where I live, and I have to be careful with my health. So yeah, we're going to discuss the DCU. I know it's kind of late. Dave Ethan was saying something, so let me just have a discussion with him, see what he's saying here. He said about the Snyder Cut. Okay, what about the Snyder Cut? I was very clear on what I was saying. You know, I said that Warner Brothers has to look at what they're doing with their directors and make sure that they get the director's vision out there, and that's straight up. I mean, there's nothing dangerous about what I said. It's absolutely true. They've done it a number of times, and where I mean, I can remember a couple off the top of my head. Tim Burton's one, where you know I think they made some poor decisions when it comes to Tim Burton and handling Tim Burton. I mean, and then I think they dropped the ball with Tim Burton. I think they dropped the ball with you know, a lot of Zack Snyder's movies, at least in the DCEU. And you know, they dropped the ball with Batman v Superman, and now they've dropped the ball again with Justice League. And as much as I like the film, and I agree with everybody about the film, I think cutting it for runtime and also sort of diluting down certain elements of the film, I think it hurts the film. You know, as I said before, they have been most successful with the movies where they're not hee-hee-ha-ha movies, unless the character lends itself to that. The comic book character, like Shazam lends himself to that kind of movie. I don't think it's a sensible thing. And again, they continuously talk about runtime as if that's something important. When you don't give the best possible sort of product you possibly can give, that the director's been slaving to give, it's on you to a very high degree. Now, I'm not saying that, again, this is all in context. I've always been in context with what I'm saying. I'm saying that I understood there was another director that came on board, and that just brings about other ramifications when another director is brought on board. I understand what the Justice League movie is as it is, but I'm saying Warner Bros. Should learn by now that their thing is to go with edgy sort of movies. It's not to water down movies. So I'm not, again, I try my best to, you know, regulate what I say and say things with sense behind them, not just, you know, emotional. I'm not an emotional person like that. So I was speaking about it in that sort of context, Davey, not in the context of I think they're doing crap or whatever, and I don't think so. I think that they tried the best that they can, but they should have. But by now, they should learn the lesson that if you try to make, if you're trying to cater to kids and so sacrifice certain things in your movies, I'm pretty sure I can show you for a fact that they compromise certain things in that movie. I could show you that. All right. I went into the movie understanding that is a possibility, especially after I saw the kind of soundtrack that Danny Elfman was coming with, and I was not impressed by it initially. I understood what kind of movie they were going for, Warner Brothers. So I understand a lot of stuff about this movie. I know what I do not like in the movie. I know what I like in the movie. But I know it's a solid movie because the core of the movie, and the message of the movie, and just the way how everything has been sculpted together, and just that extensive amount of work that Zack Snyder did, and that's included in this movie, makes it. If this was just a movie that Joss Whedon alone made, I don't think it would have been, you know, I'm just being honest. You know, he tried his best, but his best is not. He's good at making certain kinds of movies which incorporate. They incorporate a certain degree of humor that satisfies some degree of fan desire to see characters put together. Zack Snyder's movies are layered. They're very layered movies, and as such, he really gets into details. Zach's a very detailed director. So when you remove certain things, you actually, even so, Zach always has that echo of detail through his movies, so you can't remove the echo. But still, at the same time, when you try to even imitate what Zach is doing, it's pretty difficult to do, because that detail in Zach's movies and the level of thought that's put into his movies is just on another level. So that's why I said I'm looking forward to the Snyder Cut. If you paid attention to the last, if you paid attention to my last video, you would see I'm saying to Warner Brothers it would be a huge misstep if they don't have the Snyder Cut come out. And you, me, and all the other people, we're putting pressure on them to make sure that they do bring out the Snyder Cut, not 2-3 years down the road, not 10 years down the road, but within a year, they should be able to put it out. And the reason why that's important, I believe, is because this was Zack Snyder's movie. If this was any other director's movie, and if this was okay, what I mean to say is, if this was Wonder Woman, for example, and Patty Jenkins, if this was another director, and Warner Brothers came in and said, okay, so Patty Jenkins, let's put it this way. If this was Joss Whedon's movie, this is the best way to explain it, because I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this right now. If this was Joss Whedon's movie, which he started from the beginning and ended, this would have been okay. Let's put it that way. But when you take one director, you went all the way through with this director, and then you take another director, and you're working the movie, but you have your idea of what you want for the movie. And so you're saying, no, take this direction and go this direction. You owe it to the initial first director who's done the majority of work to let him finish his what he had envisioned all the way through. That's what I'm basically saying. So, for instance, this was not Joss Whedon's movie. This was Zack Snyder's movie. And what Zack Snyder was trying to do, 100% of what he was trying to do, we know for a fact that did not come out in this film. Okay? Meaning the details, not the story. Yes, obviously his vision for the story is there. Obviously, he's done most of the movie. That's not the issue here. The issue here is these details that Zack Snyder would have had for this movie that were left out, which were important to the movie. For instance, the scene that was cut from the movie with Superman on the ship, that was integral to telling the story. It was an important piece of the story that they left out, which ties into BVS and ties into Man of Steel. So these details are very important, and Zack Snyder's a very detailed director. So that's all I'm saying is that's why we want to have the Snyder Cut. And besides that, there's so much stuff still left that Zack has to tell, so much more story, and it's in small details, but it makes us tie in. I'm excited to see the Snyder Cut. So that's all I'm saying. And that Warner Brothers should have allowed that to come out to the fore. And you would say, well, how were they going to do that? Well, if they didn't try to change direction, it's obvious that they tried to change direction by firing Junkie XL. If Junkie XL was still left on board, we would know that they're going this particular direction, but they decided to change the direction a bit. And Whedon, being a different director, changed the direction, and we saw it with Danny Elfman coming on board. And then we had some reshoots which are not up to par because they weren't completed enough. And so I'm just saying, the movie's not double-toned, but it's its own kind of movie. It's told in a kind of unique situation, especially coming down to the end. And I'm just saying that even when we see the Snyder Cut, you're going to see how much more filled and grand and tied together and fluent that final cut is compared to this movie. And then you won't want to watch this movie, but don't worry. It doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it. It's still special. in its own way. And that's why I love this movie, because it's special in its own way. And I can see Zack Snyder's work in there, and I can still find pieces of it in there. But I don't expect it to be on the caliber of what Zack will give us when his cut comes out. I know it's going to be vastly superior to this particular movie. I expect that. I didn't go in expecting to get, especially after hearing Danny Elfman's uninspired soundtrack at the time, and now it's grown on me. I didn't expect that kind of caliber movie, but I also was worried that we would get something so trashy that it would remind me of Thor Ragnarok, or I hate to say it, guys, Infinity War even, I think is crappier than this movie. Okay, so I mean, I'm not trying to bash those movies, but those are movies I just absolutely resent. And so we didn't get that. So I breathed a sigh of relief, first of all, and that the story actually went somewhere with it, and it actually had something to say. That was very, very good for me. And I know the movie's better than Wonder Woman. Even that particular theatrical cut is better than Wonder Woman. Not because Wonder Woman is not a good movie, but I think it tells a lot more things. That's just what I spent a lot of time on that previous video explaining that. So no, I don't believe that Justice League in any way, shape, or form, the theatrical cut, I have it, and I watch it on replay all the time. I screen it all the time. No, I don't think it's a crappy movie. I think it's very solid. There's things about it, like I explained, that you suspend belief, and I picked at it to show you what I'm talking about. And just so you know, I mentioned certain pet peeves to let the people, the Snyder Cut people, know that were resenting these things, that I also felt those feelings. It's not like I didn't feel those feelings, but I just feel like the whole of the movie is so much better than these pet peeves that you find yourself falling into, that you just don't have to waste your time on that. Now, there's certain things that just don't make no sense if you think about it, because big chunks of the movie are cut out, and they just jump cut to resolving the situation. And so when you're telling me be careful, I'm just acknowledging that these things are there. There are these big gaps and holes, not plot holes per se, but big holes in terms of, well, it's kind of like plot holes in a way, kind of. Not really in terms of story. The story moves on, but there are holes in the movie, and that's where we have large chunks of action scenes that have been cut from this movie. All right. Now, what that means is that because we've got this abridged version, and then we have some backstory, some details and backstory that add to the storyline. Again, it's not that the storyline itself isn't complete in and of itself. It's just that there's all these little juicy details in the backstory that make the story much more than what we got, and fills out the characters much more. And that's the thing that this Justice League movie does. And so, and certain parts and certain endings are much more substantial. So that's why I talked about the parademons and what didn't make sense. And it's not that I'm bashing the movie per se. I still enjoy the crap out of it, but I understand there's some details left out of that parademon incident where Batman's going in amongst them and the League saving him, and then they go and face Steppenwolf. There's details being left out, and it's clear. It's really clear that you could see those details are gone and they're left out of the movie. And so it's based on runtime that these details were left out. And again, somebody like myself who's thinking, they would be like, this doesn't make sense. Sometimes it doesn't connect the way how I would think it would be. But I anticipated that because I was looking at the runtime and I was saying to myself, and just based on Danny Elfman's soundtrack and stuff, I said, you know, you have to lower your expectations. This is not what you saw in the sneak peek. It's not what you're going to exactly get as your final product. And I was cool with it. And I let certain things slide. There are certain things that absolutely irk me, just like everybody else. I don't like the tan-ta-dan kind of music and the kind of very heroic stuff where, like I said before, it goes more into fantasy, more into what Marvel does and the typical superhero movies of times past. And I really don't like that stuff. I was looking for the Junkie XL suspense, drama, release, the humor even being that sort of unique humor that Zack Snyder does in the middle of his stuff. I was expecting that, but I understand I had to reevaluate it after I heard Danny Elfman's score, which was not going in that direction. And it's just what it is. I mean, I thought that Danny Elfman would have added a lot more, but they just came with a totally different vibe. And Joss Whedon came with a totally different vibe in that respect. But they still tried to stay true, because you could listen to the music, to the score, they dance in and out of the suspenseful kind of way that Junkie XL was interweaving the stuff. So we got something that was sort of a hybrid of Zach and Whedon's sort of special kind of style. And I think it's something special. I still think so. I still think that Elfman's score for The Flash was brilliant. I think that the scene with Superman and The Flash was brilliant. I think that certain scenes with the Batman score and with certain scenes under the water in Atlantis were really well, brilliantly written forms of music. But I can see again cuts where parademons were under the water, etc. So I'm just saying that there's a lot more going on in Justice League, action-wise, story-wise, than we got on an abridged version, and that's why I look forward to the Snyder Cut. That's why we want to see the Snyder Cut, and I think it's absolutely necessary. But I don't think that the Snyder Cut, in terms of story, is going to vary away much from the story that we were told. I think, in essence, we've seen the movie. That's why I said I wished Dave Ethan. I know it's not possible now, but I wished I had seen the Snyder Cut first, so that I would get even more of a wow effect than this cut. But it doesn't mean that I would just be happy to get the Snyder Cut, period. I know what the story is, more or less. So now it's just the additional details of the story that I would love to see and just enjoy. When BVS, the Ultimate Cut, came out, I mean, I enjoyed BVS even more with the Ultimate Cut. I got to see things and know things that I didn't know in BVS theatrical. So, you know, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And of course, I want the Snyder Cut for, like I told you guys this already. I said, when the Snyder Cut comes out, I'll keep Justice League, this version of Justice League that has Elfman and Joss Whedon. I'll keep it as a collectible item for history, but that's not the go-to I'll go to. I'll be going to Zack Snyder's Justice League Ultimate Cut, or whatever it's called, Director's Cut, whatever it's called. I'll be going to that, just like how I use Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Cut. Then I do use the theatrical cut. I don't use that, right? And so that's what I'm saying. And it's almost time for the Zack Snyder Cut, as they call it, to come out, and I'm looking forward to that. You know, I want to see that next. But there's still a lot to get from the Justice League cut, because again, what makes this cut, this theatrical cut, so deep is the fact that there were other movies before it, and so this movie ties into all those other movies. And I just want to see what Zack Snyder was doing and how he put together everything. You know, don't feel sorry about it, Dave. It's fair enough for you to say that. I know you have a Google site, and I don't apologize for Justice League at all. The Justice League theatrical cut, I love it. I watched that thing 10 times, and I've been watching it a lot of times. I love the Justice League movie for what it is. I never called it a masterpiece. I said it was solid. And I stand by that. I think it has good content in it. I think how it began, I think the way how we can kind of put it together was nice. They just should have had their special effects polished. They tried. They still are not. It's not the most polished special effects, and it definitely doesn't meet Zack Snyder's standard of special effects. But again, you know, it is what it is. This guy was brought in on the last minute to do some stuff. He did quite a lot of stuff in there, and for the time frame he had, and he got a director to do certain things. I personally think that, you know, but he is a director, so there was nothing I could do about it. But I would have preferred if Junkie was there, and if he was just going to try and tie up loose ends that Zach wanted, and not what the WB wanted. I know WB was working with Zach to try and get it, and I guess they got what they wanted. They thought it was great, and they realized after the backlash that that was not the way to go. Right? You try to keep the edge on these movies. Zach always keeps that edge on his movies, and he keeps that realism on his movies. And the difference, it's a different approach to say Marvel. Marvel keeps fantasy in the foreground. Zach stays with science fiction, and it's a form of fiction as well, but it's not as fantastical. Fantasy says just throw a reasoning out. You don't have to have a whole bunch of reasoning. Zach says no. We will always have a reason for everything we say. You know. So yeah, yeah, man. Man. You have a look, man. Have a great night. I hope you have you get good enough sleep for tomorrow. I was trying to get in contact with William Ruffin. I haven't seen William Ruffin yet. I don't know if he's gonna talk with me tonight. I tried to get him in contact in Facebook. The connection just wouldn't work on Facebook, so it is what it is. Anybody else wants to shout out late in the night, just go ahead and put your comments in the chat section. I should be in my bed right now, but I'm going to be up for a couple more minutes because I'm trying to get some, I'm just going to de-gas myself. Started bubbling some gas in my body. What I mean by gas, I mean, you know, I started getting some gas in my body, and I used some probiotic to try and calm that down. And then I had to drink more water because I'm still dehydrated. I take a bath, and tomorrow I'll wake up, shave. Tomorrow's another holiday. So we had Indian Arrival Day, which marks the arrival of the East Indians to Trinidad and Tobago. And tomorrow we have a Catholic holiday, Corpus Christi. So that's what it is. Let's talk a little bit more. Anybody else has any more questions for me? I know it's very late in the night, but if you guys want to, I can stay here and answer a couple more of your questions, because I have to drink some more water and stuff and just keep rehydration, and then I'm going to take a bath, try and relax myself. And I'm going to have to work hard tomorrow so I can make sure my body's in order. I do need more probiotic. I get some more probiotic. I drink a lot of water, and that washes out some of the flora in my gut. So guys, if you got any more questions concerning the DC, I got a couple more things I got to talk about with the DCEU, but it's pretty late in the night. I'm pretty sleepy. So if you guys got anything else you want to say about the DCEU, let me know. Let me know, baby. I'm going to give you guys a piece of scripture that I had here. It says, trouble and anguish has taken hold on me. Your commands are my delights. The righteousness of your testimony is everlasting. Give me understanding, and I shall live. And truly, I got to say, man, understanding is the key to everything. Without understanding, it don't make no sense. That's my opinion. Of course, it doesn't mean that you move only when you have understanding. Sometimes you ain't got no understanding for the situation at the present moment in time, but you got to move, you know. So it is what it is. All right, let me talk a couple of things about the DCEU I've seen up late. First of all, I heard that Heroic Gateway, I think it was, that rumor was false, that Heroic Gateway, they actually saw the Zack Snyder cut. Some people saying it was false. So, you know, I see there's some information about Batman's movie, the Batman movie. I think that's pretty cool. Shazam was up everywhere. Shazam was in Batman v Superman, where they make a joke, a spoof out of Granny's peach tea. So that's pretty interesting. Here I see some information on Matt Reeves. A fan is telling Matt Reeves how to make his movie. I don't know why fans do that, though. Why do they think they can make movies all of a sudden? You're fans. All you need to do is go watch. Anyway, whatever. So let me talk a little bit more about the DCEU here. There's not really anything going on much in the DCEU. Just a lot of rumors. They got something with Zack Snyder here. It's late in the night, folks. They're saying here that Zack Snyder planned to adapt Injustice. He was talking about Injustice God Among Us video games to the big screen in his creation of the live-action Justice League. In fact, while answering a fan question about the nightmare sequence from Dawn of Justice earlier this month, Snyder noted that he intended to adapt Injustice based off of the seeds planted in that scene. This makes sense as both Nightmare and Injustice both center on dystopian worlds in which Superman goes rogue after Lois' death. I don't think he was going to do that, actually. I don't remember him saying that. I remember him saying that he was looking at the equation. I forgot what it's called. The anti-life equation. Like I don't really agree with Zack Snyder concerning Dick Grayson being the Robin that died. I just find that kind of dumb. Oh, you still here? Just wait until Comic-Con. Yeah. Comic-Con. Yeah, man. I've been trying to find more DC news in the media, and nothing on DC really. It's all well and good. I just wanted to say, man, there's not really much out here, man. It's dry when it comes to DC right now. It's really dry. Lex Luthor murdered his father. Well, they assume, Snyder and company was saying maybe that's what he did. They were thinking along those lines. I know Aquaman was supposed to have more footage in Justice League as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not really much going on with the DCEU, but I think we have some pretty good directors on board for certain movies. Certain directors that are confirmed to direct movies. So I find that, that's cool. There's not really much more going on here, I gotta tell you. So here are some of the directors that we know are directing DC movies. We know James Wan, he's going to be directing Aquaman, right? We know that David Sandberg, he's going to be directing Shazam. Patty Jenkins is going to be directing Wonder Woman 2. Just Magic Hour, I think it's going to be called. I don't know if they're going to change it. David Ayer is going to be doing Birds of Prey, which was supposed to be Gotham City Sirens. I know you guys are joining. It's late in the night, man. It's 2:03 in the night, so in the morning. So we know those guys are directing. We know that there's a director for the Nightwing movie. His name is, what's his name? what's his name? Chris McKay. Chris McKay is supposed to be the Nightwing director. We know we're going to have New Gods, the director for that. We know there's a director for the Batman, which is Matt Reeves. I don't know who's the director for Suicide Squad 2. You guys probably know who that is. Who else we got? So we got a couple of other directors out there. We got a couple of them. All right, so I was just trying to get William Ruffin on online here so we could talk. I know it would have been more public talk conversation, but I guess he's not going to come up now. So I hope you guys have a good night. I don't really have a whole bunch of stuff to say. I need to just go in my bed and sleep. So it was nice talking with you guys. Talking with you, Dave Ethan. Shout out to you and a couple others that are usually on my channel. But right now, it's just very late in the night. I mean, I don't want to keep anybody up or anything. And there's nothing really new for me to say to you guys. I already said some of the stuff I wanted to say to you guys today. So let me not waste any more of your time. I have some more videos to really share with you guys concerning some other things that are really interesting. But for now, we'll just call it a day, man. We'll call it a day. Yeah, I think we'll call it a day. So, from Trinidad, your boy, Christ I Am Disciple, Answer Philip, wishing you all guys good night. Have a good one.